This was the account of Jacob. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the son of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age. He made a richly ornamented robe for him. When his brothers saw that his father loved him more than any of them, he hated him and could not speak a word. Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers. They hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were building sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. "Listen," he said, "I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars are bowing down to me." When his father, as well as his brothers, when he told his fathers and his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream that you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come down and bow to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. ヤコブは一時滞在していたカナンの地に住んでいた。これはヤコブの歴史である。ヨセフは17歳の時、彼の兄たちと羊の群れを飼っていた。彼はまた手伝いて、父の妻、ビルマの子らやシルパの子たちと一緒にいた。ヨセフは彼らの悪い噂を父に告げた。イスラエルは彼の息子たちの誰よりもヨセフを愛していた。それはヨセフが彼の年よりこれあったからである。癖でヨセフに袖継ぎの長服を作ってやっていた。彼の兄たちは父が兄弟たちの誰よりも彼を愛しているのを見て、彼を憎み、彼と穏やかに話すことができなかった。ある時、ヨセフは夢を見て、それを父に告げた。すると彼はますます彼を憎むようになった。ヨセフは彼に言った。どうか私の見たこの夢を聞いてください。見ると私たちは畑で束を束ねていました。すると突然、私の束が立ち上がり、しかもまっすぐに立っているのです。見ると、あなた方の束が周りに来て、私の束にお辞儀をしました。兄弟たちは言った。お前は私を治める王になろうとするのか、私たちを支配しようとでも言うのか。こうして彼らは夢のことや言葉のことで彼をますます憎むようになった。ヨセフはまた他の夢を見て、それを兄たちに話した。彼はまた私は夢を見ましたよ。見ると太陽と月と11の星が私を伏して拝んでいるのですと言った。ヨセフが兄や兄弟たちに話したとき、父は彼を叱っていった。お前の見た夢は一体何なのだ。私はお前の母親、兄さんたちがお前のところに住み出て地に伏してお前を拝むとでも言うのか。兄たちは彼を妬んだが、父はこのことを心に留めていた。Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, "As you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to," he replied. So he said to them, "Go and see if it is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me." Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I am looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they're grazing their flocks?" They had moved on from here. The man answered, "I heard him say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in a distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. Here comes the dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into these cisterns, and say that a ferocious wolf devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. "Let's not take his life," he said. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the desert, but don't lay a hand on him." Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe and richly ornamented his robe he was wearing. And they took him and they threw him in the cistern. Now the cistern was empty, there was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes, and he went back to his brothers and said, "The boy isn't there! Where can I turn now?" Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dripped the robe in blood. They took the ornamented robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." He recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal had devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn in pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and mourned for his son many days. And his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, in mourning I will go down to the grave to my son." So his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. その後、兄たちはシェケムで父の羊の群れを買うために出かけて行った。それでイスラエルはヨセフに言った。お前の兄さんたちはシェケムで群れを飼っている。さあ、あの人たちのところに使いに行ってもらいたい。すると答えた。はい、参ります。また言った。さあ行って、兄さんたちや羊の群れが無事であるかを見て、そのことを自分に知らせに帰ってきておくれ。こうして、彼をヘブロンの谷から使いにやった。それで彼はシケムに行った。彼が野をさまよっていると、一人の人が彼に出会った。その人は尋ねていった。何を探しているのですか？ヨセフは言った。私は兄たちを探しているところです。ところで、群れを飼っているか教えてください。するとその人は言った。ここからもう立って行ったはずです。あの人たちがダンの方に行こうとこうではないかと言ってるのを私が聞いたからです。そこでヨセフは兄たちの後を追っていき、ドランで彼らを見つけた。彼はヨセフが彼らの近くに来ないうちに、遥かな彼方に彼を見て、彼を殺そうと企んだ。彼は互いに言った。見ろ、あの夢の見る者がやってくる。さあ、今こそ彼を殺し、どこかの穴に投げ込んで悪い獣が食い殺したと言おう。そして、あれの夢がどうなるかを見ようではないか。しかし、ルベンはこれを聞き、彼らの手から彼を救い出そうとして、あの子の命を撃ってはならないと言った。ルベンはさらに言った。血を流してはならない。彼を荒野でのこの穴に投げ込みなさい。彼に手を下してはならない。ヨセフを彼らの手から救い、父のところに返すためであった。ヨセフは兄たちのところに来たとき、彼らはヨセフの長服、彼が着ていた袖付きの長服を剥ぎ取り、彼を捕らえて穴の中に投げ込んだ。その穴は空で、その中には水がなかった。これが彼らは座って食事をしていた。彼らが目を上げてみると、そこにエシマエル人の隊長がギルアデから来た。ラクダには酒豪と入港と持つ役を背負わせ、彼らはエジプトへ下って行くところであった。するとユダが兄弟たちに弟を殺し、その血を隠したことで何の益になろう。さあ、ヨセフはエシマエル人に売ろう。我々が彼に手をかけてはならない。彼は我々の肉親の弟だから。兄弟たちは彼の言うことを聞き入れた。その時ミディアンの証人が通りかかった。それで彼らはヨセフを穴から引き上げ、ヨセフを銀20枚でエシマエル人に売った。エシマエル人はヨセフをエジプトへ連れて行った。さて、ルベンが穴のところに帰ってくると、なんとヨセフは穴の中にいなかった。彼は自分の着物を引き裂き、兄弟たちのところに戻っていった。あの子がいない。私はどこへ行ったらよいのか。彼はヨセフの長服を取り、親木をほふって、その地に長服をひした。そして、袖付きの長服を父のところに持って行き、彼らはこれを私が見つけました。どうかあなたの子の長服であるかどうかお調べになってくださいと言った。父はそれを調べていった。これは我が子の長服だ。 悪い獣にやられたのだ。ヨセフは噛み裂かれたのだ。ヤコブは自分の着物を引き裂き、荒布を腰にまとい、幾日の間、その子のために泣き悲しんだ。彼の息子、娘は皆来て父を慰めたが、彼は慰めることを拒み、私は泣き悲しみながら、黄泉にいる我が子のところに下っていきたいと言った。こうして、父はその子のために泣いた。ミディアンの地はエジプト、パノの帝人、その侍従長ポリパルにヨセフを売った。